If you've come to expect anything from the Atlanta Braves in recent years, it may be those social media posts with the little blue squares, those boxes that are associated with the extensions. All of those extensions the Braves have been signing in recent years. Well, there was another one on Friday morning. This one, however, a little bit different than all those before it. Welcome into BPTV. I'm Grant McAuley. He's Kris Willis. We appreciate you as always riding along with us. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. All of that helps our show grow. And for the Braves, they've been doing a lot of growing in the past 6 years under general manager Alex Anthopoulos. They're president of baseball operations as well. And the big news on Friday, the Braves' latest extension is for the architect of all of Atlanta's recent extensions before it. The team announcing that president of baseball ops and GM Alex Anthopoulos has signed a contract that will keep him at the helm through 2031. I don't know if you can be too surprised about this as a Braves fans because, as an Atlanta fan and under Anthopoulos, the Braves have built one of the most consistent winners in all of baseball. So, Kris, big news for the Braves, maybe one of the most important extensions that they'll ever sign, but it's a definite sign that the Braves very much like where they are under their general manager.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think I tweeted that, it was the most impactful signing of the offseason in a lot of ways for the Braves. I don't think there was ever any doubt that this was going to happen. I know it had become a little bit of a talking point within the fan base. But I think it just doubles down. The length of this extension too is
Yeah.
notable. I think it just doubles down, that they believe they're set up for the long haul. And I thought it was interesting that, he's going to expire right around the same time some of those extensions that he's handed out expires too. So, it feels like we're still, early on in this process with this Braves roster, and Alex Anthopoulos is going to be here to see the whole thing through.
Now, the Braves have really lined things up under the man they call AA. And if we flash back to Anthopoulos joining Atlanta, it happened right after the 2017 season. It was widely known across the baseball world that the Braves, they were in disarray in that front office, and the changes that were stemming from MLB's investigation into then GM John Coppola and the club had really reached a critical point. The Braves could have gone in a lot of different directions at that time as a franchise. Fortunately, though, Anthopoulos was available serving in the Dodgers baseball ops department after a successful tenure in Toronto as the general manager of the Blue Jays. Since all of that happened, the Braves have embarked on an era of winning that has brought them a World Series and could offer more in the future because the future appears to be in good hands. Kris, you just kind of touched on it. I know we both feel this way about it, but we might as well have the discussion here. The Braves have signed a lot of extensions in recent years. This may be the most important of the bunch because I believe that it maintains that continuity that has led to so much of the success.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned it. I mean, that's the one thing I think that he's really brought to this front office is the continuity. That's what was missing a little bit with the other regime, just too many people pulling in too many different directions. And I think it took him a little bit of time, but I think he's gotten that process streamlined now. You see it with the coaching staff, the relationship between the front office and the coaching staff and the players. And, to me, the Braves have always kind of felt like a family atmosphere under Alex Anthopoulos. And I think that was ultimately, I think that was the goal all along. So, like I said, just a tremendous move, when coming over. And I don't think it's any coincidence. I mean, he inherited a good situation in terms of roster, but, I think he's maximized a lot of that potential as well.
Yeah, I mean, he inherited a very good farm system, the best farm system in baseball. Let's go ahead and put that out there. So that is a situation I think a general manager would like to come into. But as we know, prospects are just that until they actually go out there at the big league level and do it. But it helps to have as much talent around as possible. But he did have to go about reconstructing the major league roster and turning a team that very much, to me, Kris, especially in 2018, it felt a lot like 1991. And I know I was a kid when that was going on, but there was just this, aura about Atlanta that, they could, and we've seen it in the 90s and the run of success that they had, they could do some winning. Well, that was a foreign thought way back in the early 90s as they went on that run. But in the early part of that tenure for Alex Anthopoulos, I don't think anybody was looking at the club and thinking, okay, they've got the new GM and now they're going to win the National League East. But that's a thing that the Braves did. So even from the early going, whereas you point out that some of the pieces were in place. Now, how do you replicate that success? And that's something that he had done in Toronto. And I think it was important that the Braves go out and get a proven general manager specifically after they were coming out of the era that they were in right before Anthopoulos took that job.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was a situation where you could have stepped in with somebody that had a assistant GM experience or whatnot. I thought he was the perfect hire. And I remember at the time seeing that rumor, and I was wondering, I remember thinking, wow, could they get Alex Anthopoulos? Because I thought he was one of the bigger names that had been
Mhm.
rumored around with that job. Just a forward-thinking GM too, and I don't think he sometimes gets a credit for that. But I think that's one thing the Braves have melded the analytics and the feel of the game, probably in my opinion, about as good as any team out there has over this last 6-year run.
Yeah, they definitely have. I think the Braves have built something that's the envy of many, if not most, Major League Baseball franchises right now. And you brought up something important, in terms of the family aspect or the aesthetic of the Braves. It does really, I think, seem to be the common thread for the culture that they've woven together. You hear players talk about Anthopoulos and what they have built and done this past 6 seasons. Travis d'Arnaud told me last year that everything starts with the quality of the players, the talent, and the personality that Anthopoulos adds to this club. Winning can look a lot of different ways, but what the Braves have built is undeniable. And I think the character aspect of it, I know that it's got to happen on the field. The wins and losses all happen there, and the talent is going to help you do the winning. And sometimes a lack of talent will cause you to do some losing. But the Braves and what they have behind the scenes and in that clubhouse is a huge part of the success as well. And that, I think, is a credit to what exactly Alex Anthopoulos has been trying to design and the pieces that he has put in place.
Yeah, and I mean, we wondered out loud when you see guys like Freddie Freeman walk out, and then Dansby Swanson kind of elevated to that leadership role, and then he leaves. There's naturally going to be questions about whether there's leadership in that clubhouse, and I think that's where this culture is so important, and that Alex Anthopoulos has set. Is because you see guys like Travis d'Arnaud, you see, Matt Olson took a little bit more of a leadership
Mhm.
standpoint last year. It's not just a one player leading; it's a number of guys throughout that clubhouse that lead by example. They're not afraid to have those conversations, and it's just such a close knit situation. And I mean, it's kind of feels normal here.
Mhm.
It's what we expect. But I don't think it's like that in every major league clubhouse.
No, I would say that it's not. I mean, I haven't been in all 30 of them, and it can change throughout the course of a season depending on what circumstances are happening around them. But I think to bring that back to the point, the Braves don't really seem to waver if they've won 10 or 12 in a row, or if they've lost, 5 out of 6 or whatever it may be. It just seems like the Braves always have their focus where it does need to be in order to get back to winning, if that's something that is not coming as frequently as they would like. And they seem to be able to navigate the highs and lows of that Major League Baseball season better than any club. And Brian Snitker is a big part of that. And he often talks about the relentless nature of Alex Anthopoulos when it comes to finding ways to add to the team to make that club just a little bit better. We've seen that in a variety of forms with different deals over the past few years. No GM is going to bat 1,000. They're not going to be able to pull off every trade that they or you, I'm watching out there, or any of us that come up with deals on our own would like to see made. But there's definitely a symmetry and a balance that's been struck between all creating this culture. And the Braves, once again, come into this year looked upon as World Series contenders. That's the mission: World Series or bust, year after year. And I think, again, to talk about what Alex Anthopoulos has done, to give credit to the players who obviously go out there and get the results and won that World Series in 2021, given a string of very, very important trades that Alex Anthopoulos pulled off in a season where many people were saying to pull the plug. It's fascinating to watch what the Braves have done, but also to know that from the higher ups perspective, they have looked at this from Terry McGurk on down, and maybe even a little bit higher up in the Liberty Media side of things, because they don't mind all the money that is made by a club that's doing as much winning. But to talk all of this down into one fine point, I guess, if you look at everything that's happened and transpired over the last 6 years, it makes you feel pretty good about what could happen through the year 2031 with someone who's been able to be at the center of making this club as good as it has been, and perhaps a little bit better at times, given the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, the thing is, they're always looking to improve the club. But one of the things that's fascinated me is I remember the previous regime talking about they didn't want to just build a winner for one season. They wanted something that was sustainable. But Alex came in and he really executed that plan. I mean, you look at the payroll structure of a lot of teams, and it's very top heavy. Even some of the big spenders that are ahead of the Braves still. But if you look at the Braves sheet, it's a lot different, spread out throughout throughout the roster. And it's and at times, that could be a little frustrating because you're not always in on the highest priced free agents. But at the same time, the Braves have put that core together now that's going to keep them competitive year after year after year and give them the flexibility to go out and make the trades that they need, whether they're preseason or in season, to strengthen their chance for October run. And 20, like you said, 2021 was special. I thought we
It's
saw
magic.
Alex at his best then because he took a bleak situation, a team that just had not hit on its, just had not for whatever reason put it all together. Lost their best player to a catastrophic injury. Lost a
Mhm.
significant pitcher right around the same time, in Ian Anderson, and caught lightning in a bottle with a bunch of trades at the trade deadline. So I just think, I think that speaks to the culture of the clubhouse. There's never this thought that, hey, we're going to give up. And, and I think they continue that. I think they're always trying to make the team better. I think they're doing that right now, even though, from a roster standpoint, you and I pretty much think they're done, heading into 2024. But I mean, if something presents itself, they've probably got the flexibility, to get that done if they so desire.
Yeah, I mean, the job is never done. And like I said, and like Brian Snitker said, I mean, Alex is relentless about this. I mean, you can't accuse him of taking any time off. He's always thinking about, the ways to maximize this club. And again, there are going to be constraints for different teams when it comes of money. There are going to be moves that just, you're not able to make them. The player doesn't sign with you. You're not able to sign the player, whatever the case is. The trade doesn't happen, whatever it is. But as you look at what the Braves have in place right now, a lot of it built through the farm system and through some of those trades that predated Alex Anthopoulos, it just feels like that back in 2018 or after that 2017 season, that the Braves were the right job and they got the right guy for it at the exact right time. And that has all brought them through the road that took them to the World Series championship of 2021 and right to where they are heading into 2024. I said that mission is World Series or bust. People wonder, are the Braves happy just winning the East and going home? No, they're not happy about that. They want to win the East on the way to winning the World Series. I think it's just important to continue to point that out because that's not the end goal for this team, even if it's the first goal when they walk through the doors in spring training, which will be happening in about a month. But as you brought up earlier, Kris, Alex Anthopoulos is now signed through 2031. Many of Atlanta's top players are signed for the rest of this decade. I think that sends a pretty clear message that the Braves are very happy with where they are and they want to stay there. And this is a huge piece for that continuity. And to go back to what we talked about when we got started here, maybe the biggest deal, not just of the offseason, but one of the biggest extensions that the Braves have ever signed.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it was a no doubt move. I don't think there was ever a possibility that it wasn't going to happen. I think it just took a little time maybe to get around to announcing it or whatever. But like I said, just huge, just a huge move. I think Alex Anthopoulos is the best GM in baseball. I think he's proven that over the last few years. If not the best, then he is definitely on the short list in the conversation. So. Like I said, again, tremendous move. And, it just bodes well. It's just another part of the core because I feel like he's part of that core that they've now locked up, for the rest of the decade.
Yeah, consistency is a huge key to winning. That is for sure. And we hope the consistency is a huge key for why you come to BPTV and follow along with us each and every week. And we appreciate you doing it because that's going to wrap up this edition of the show. But make sure that you like this video, that you share this video, and that you subscribe to the Battery Power channel right here on YouTube. We appreciate you as always riding along with us, and we'll catch you next time, Braves Country. And until then, so long.